Hey, coaches, welcome back to Football Talk with Coach Chip. Appreciate you being here. Don't forget to go over to Spotify and hopefully soon Apple, if I can figure it out. If any of you know how to do that, hit me up. I don't know if it's because I don't have an Apple computer or what. They're not communicating. But Spotify is a piece of cake to get those podcasts up. Most recently, we talked with Steven Jackson, the offensive coordinator at Bob Jones High School in North Alabama, and Roger Holmes, probably the preeminent active wing T coach in the country, goes all over the country speaking at Glazier clinics on the wing T. It's a really interesting conversation. Roger visited with us for about an hour, and I think we got back 50 minutes of content. And it's very interesting what he does. It's not Delaware wing T. It's wing T. It's true wing T, but it's a different system, different scheme, and he doesn't quite do the numbers and the formations. But it is the most versatile most versatile wing T that I've ever seen. It is amazing. So go over to Spotify and Apple. I want to say that because 20 years from now, surely to God, I'd have it up by then. It's called Football Talk with Coach Chip, the podcast. Hey, don't forget, be sure to share the video, all you subscribers, and please check right now to see if you're subscribed. I think some of you may think you are subscribed because there's no way this many people are watching the videos and not subscribing. And we're right at 3,000. I'm trying to get there by the end of June. 2024 is when this is being made. And get that number to 3,000. I hope when you're listening to this 5-10 years in the future, we're back 300,000. We'll see. Also, check out our freebies. We got some great offers. I got a new one up. I'm going to show you at the end of the video. All right, let's talk about blocking the buck by the colors. All right, here you see the way I started right here. This is the way I teach it in the Big Book of Bucks. The first dozen or so pages of it are nothing but how to block it. And then I get into a ton of ways you can run it. You know, my old philosophy is if you don't frig around with the guys up front, you can do anything in the back, on the back end that you want to, that your kids can learn. Like I say, they're running backs. They get to touch the football. They'll figure the crap out because they get a chance to run and score. But don't mess around with your linemen. But this is the way, this colored hose, and all you got to do is get the old fire hose from the volunteer fire department, and because those things get tested periodically, and they, like football helmets, they get rejected. They can't hold the pressure. To keep them out of a landfill, a lot of times they just store them and see if there's a use for them later. But check. I went and talked with a retired firefighter. Really, he was a fire chief, and asked him. I said, "Do you have any anywhere?" Well, he teaches a fire safety course at the local high school where we live here. And he had a ton of them, and I got a big wide one. So what you do is you paint your colors on one side like this, and you paint them about 3-4 feet. And then on the other side, you put your gaps, the traditional way you do it, A, B, C, D. So you can use it on both sides of the ball, teach your linemen and linebackers, defensive linemen and linebackers how to fit, how to insert, practice their blitzes on air and stunts on air. But you flip it over like this, and I also use this for teaching duo. I teach it for gap down backer and for duo, and tell them this is their gap. So this is how we do it. And we tell each guy, you're responsible for the gap to your backside. So on buck right, the red guy is responsible for the red gap. Blue guy, blue gap, green guy, green gap. Okay, this is all in the Big Book of Bucks. And you can use it, and it's also in the gap down backer book. And so you can use this to teach your kids their gap responsibilities. And the rule is gap down, pull. So if nobody's in their gap, they're a puller. Now you can go it all the way where everybody is a puller, okay, except the backside tackle, and of course the wing and the tight end. I was talking to Roger on the podcast, Roger Holmes, and he gets in some unbalanced stuff, and he even have some double wing stuff. When I say double wing, I mean 2 wings on one side, and he has concepts where he'll pull the tight end just with a call. I've not gone to that extreme with it. But tackle, guard, center, guard. If you got a center that can pull, all of them are subject to pull. And their rule is gap, down, pull. And they just have to know whether the first puller or the second puller. The first puller is the kicker on buck, and the second puller is the wrapper on buck. So if you look inside, so let's say the tight end's rule, his rule is gap down, backer, gap down, he's gone. Let's look at the tackle. His rule is gap down, pull. So he looks inside. If something is in his gap, and his gap is the green area, so a 4-eye, inside shoulder of the tackle, is in his gap. So that's his guy. He's blocking down. If nothing is in that green gap, then he knows he's going to pull, kick. And they communicate with that. And you have come up with your calls. And that's in the book as well. And you come up with your calls, and so they're communicating, and they know that he is the puller and he's the kicker. All right, the guard here, he's gold. He looks in his gold gap. Anything in it. If nothing in it, he's gone. Of course, if nothing's in the green gap, there will be something in the gold gap, or you're fixing to win anyway because their defense is so unsound, it's not even funny. So if something's in the gap, he blocks down on it. So that also can mean, remember, it's gap down pull. So if a 0 is head up, half of that guy's in his gap. If half of them's in the gap, he's in the gap. It's kind of like being pregnant. You can't be a little bit pregnant. Either he's in the gap or he's not. So he's a little bit in that gap. He's in the gap. Now, if he's backside shoulder of the center, he's not in your gap, right guard. Does that make sense to you, coaches? If he's a 2-eye, inside shoulder of the guard, he's in the gap. Okay, now the only exception to that, and this goes all the way across the board here, if he's head up, if he's in a 2, yes, he's he's in the gap here. Got to communicate with your tackle. Okay, if you're pulling, you got to make the call. Say, hey, that's yours. He blocks down, and you're gone. Center's the same thing, and this is where it gets kind of funky for some guys. Now, ignore this if your philosophy is, I don't care if the kid can block, I'm in the shotgun, I got to have a great snapper, all you got to do is block back, get in the way. Fine. Been there, done that. Perfectly okay. He just knows he's always blocking back. If you do not want to pull your center, or your center cannot pull and snap effectively. By the way, do not sacrifice effective snaps just to pull him, because the play starts with the snap. So you've got to make sure of that. If he can snap and pull, and what I recommend doing during the summertime, during preseason and off season, don't do the traditional snap and step, snap and step, snap and step. You need to work on snap and pull. Trust me, if he can snap and pull, he can snap and step. All right, and same thing here on the backside. So this is where, now if you do not want to pull your center, this guy's always your wrapper. On buck, is this light blue guard is always going to be the wrapper if you make the decision, or the center makes a decision for you because he can't do it, that the center's always blocking back. Now, it takes away a little bit because you had that, they're in an underfront, you got a 3 right here. Now, that's a tough block. Okay, what I like to do is make a center tackle sandwich on backside 3-techs where he's blocking back on him and he's gapping down right here with his step to do his gap hinge. And he's going to get his outside shoulder and slow him down while the center is coming to get his inside hip. But let's just say your center can pull. This is where this system of blocking the buck comes in handy. That angle's made in heaven. I'll show it to you. First off, look at a regular over front versus an even front right here. I left the hose on the screen here at the top on all these slides so you can see what I'm talking about. And I intentionally left the linebackers out because for our intents and purposes right now, the linebackers do not matter. We're going to get them either way. A 9 right here, wingback's got him. You got a 5 right here. He's in the tight end's gap. Tight end's got him. You got a 3 right here. He's in the tackle's gap. See? He's got him. The right guard. Look in his gap. There's the gap right there. Anything in the gap? Nope. He knows he's pulling. He's the first puller. He's the kicker. Center looks back in his gap. There's his gap right here. What's he going to do? Block back. Anything in the backside guard's gap? Nope. Pull and wrap. Now, if you make the decision he's always the wrapper, it doesn't matter. That's cool. And this is where the guys that like to flip their line, it comes in handy. If you block it this way, then your backside guard is on the left side when you're strong right, and he's on the right side when you're strong left. And that's all he has to do in practice. On buck, he works on wrapping because you're flipping your line. And your front side guard, all he's got to work on is down blocks on the buck and pull kick. That's if you use this system that we like to use on the buck for how you block it up. And of course, the backside tackle is always gap hinging, or as I like to call it, gap flip. I like the rules to be very descriptive, and gap tells them you're emphasizing you've got to shut off that gap before you flip, because a lot of guys get in that habit, and I've got video on that. All right, that's what it looks like. Okay, notice the dotted blue lines, because he knows he's got that backside backer that if he finishes the block, comes all the way out here and gets outside that last down block, scraping paint, who's he getting? This linebacker at scraping. So if that linebacker tries to do a run through, any linebacker tries to do a run through, he's got to pull with his eyes in the box. He can't be looking out here. That's why I teach him to get great depth so he doesn't trip over somebody. Let's say you got a board dog over here at the 3-tech, and this guy's doing the best he can, and all he can do is get a stalemate right in here. We don't want to pull too flat and get hung up. All right, now here's the underfront, and this is what inspired me to look for a new way to block buck. And studying Roger Holmes's book and studying pin and pull guys is how we came up with it. Look, he's in the red gap, wingback's got him. He's in the blue gap, 5, tight end's got him. Now look at your tackle. Anybody in the tackle's gap? He's got the green gap. No. Pull, kick. Anybody in the guard's gap? Yes. And this is what messes up so many buck teams, because now the center, in the old way of doing it, he had to reach that nose. What if he's in a 2-eye? I'm telling y'all, he can't get him consistently. Unless you're blocking a bunch of coaching a bunch of 5-star centers, he's not going to reach a 2-eye. He can reach a 1, a shade, but he's not going to reach a 2-eye, y'all. And I know people do it. Hey, Vince Lombardi used to reach 2-techs with his center. But guess what? His center wound up in the Hall of Fame, and they won like 5 world championships running the old Packer sweep. Are you coaching Jim Ringo? I don't think so. So the guard now will block down, and the center, if you're going to pull your center, will be your wrapper, because the guard's not pulling, because he's got that angle made in heaven. Look at this. Bam. That's it. And notice the center now has got the dotted blue lines. He's looking for the run-throughs. Now, he's not going slow. He's coming, but he's got his eyes in there, looking for run-throughs. Something run through, he inserts and gets it. No run-through, he's looking for the last down block, scraping paint off the last down block's booty. All right, here's an odd front. I know there's 4 guys here, but you know what that's the linebacker's walked up. And if he's not walked up, you're fixing to gash their butt if he's playing back here in space. The rules don't change. It's gap, down, pull. You tell me who's going to block who. All right, I'm about to click the button. Bam. There you go. Oh, look, it's the same guys that pulled a while ago on the underfront. But the rules hold up. His rules gap down backer. His rules gap down backer. He's got him. His rules gap down pull. Anything in his gap? No. Now, if that guy's inside, that's where you can get some dadgum stuff going on right now. When you get that 4-eye right there, because he's got to get in there. And that's why guys like Raj will pull the tight end sometimes. And you can do that. It's just it's more of an X block. He'll block down and he'll do step back and go boom right there. But that's not the defense we're up against right here. But notice how it works. It's the same as it was versus the underfront. And your backside guard is taking the angle on the 4-eye because the guy has reduced. This is a true old school split 4 with a 7, 3, a 1 or a 2-eye. I just put him dead in the gap because you're going to block it the same whether he's in a 2-eye or a 1, whether he's shaded or he's in the inside on the inside shoulder of the backside guard. You're going to block it the same. Look at there. It's traditional wing T blocking. But the rule holds up. Gap down, pull. Gap down, pull. All right. If you have any questions, hit me up at siegel.chip@gmail.com. Also, here is a list of the freebies. Don't forget, I've got the practice schedule and the install plan. It's all on one spreadsheet. Hit me up and I'll send that to you. Look on the list here. Go ahead and hit pause. I'm not going to read these to you. Hit pause where you can read them. Take a screenshot of it right now so you can save it onto your phone or your device, and then you can go back later and look at it and see if there's anything on here that might help you in your program. And there is the sample practice schedule example right there. That's just a screenshot of what's in there. It's like I got an install plan for 2 platoon and 1 platoon. I got a sample weekly in-season schedule. It's high school, 3-day week. 3-day work week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. How we did it with kids going both ways. It's a 2-hour plan. I only sent you the offensive one. All we ever did was copy and paste. So if you want to do the defensive one, you copy and paste it and put that in there. 10, 11 periods every day, 5-minute periods. And then that leaves you time to also have your special teams involved. Get your copy of the OL manual for gap scheme blocking. What we just went over is in there. The big book of bucks, that's in there. That deals exclusively with how to block buck, and then dozens and dozens of ways to run the buck behind the way we just showed you how to block it. They're $30 each. You can get both of them for $50. If you want to throw in an extra $10, I'll send you the playbook, and it shows you how we do it. And it's got formations in there and how we line up and how we call it and things like that. Don't forget the podcast on Spotify, trying to get the thing up on Apple too. If you're not a Spotify person, all you got to do is download the app. You don't have to buy anything. They'll just put commercials on the, when you're listening, there'll be a commercial or something that pops up on there. But if you're a subscriber to Spotify, you've already got the app, just click on it, and you can listen to that as you do your morning walk, your morning run, your morning workout. If you want to dive deeper into any of the concepts, I've recently retired. I'm no longer on field coaching. I have free time. I've just decided to do some health factors, and I'm doing much better now. For those that have checked on me, I appreciate it. But I've nothing, deadly, especially now that I've retired. But I'm doing much better. But I want to keep helping, and I'd love to be involved. I've jokingly told some of the coaches, and it's a joke, it's funny, but I'm serious. I want to be an evangelist. I want to come in and help you out, preach the message, and then leave you, the head coach, the on-staff coaches, the staff at the church, the preacher, to put up with the day-to-day stuff that goes along with running a church or goes along with running a team. So that's why I said I'm going to be a football evangelist. And I've already started doing that, done a few Zooms. Contact me, I'll tell you how we can set that up and come to some type of agreement. If you're nearby, I just went last week and did a visit with a coach talking about duo, visiting with his O-line guy. So we can do stuff like that too. But hit me up at siegel.chip@gmail.com for more info. Like I said, I'm doing in-person or video consultations and installs. All right, that's it for this episode of Football Talk with Coach Chip. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you've already done all those things, you got one more thing to do for me. And this is all it costs you. We're not behind the paywall. We're not doing anything dastardly like that. This is all free content. I just ask you to help me out by sharing it. I'm trying to get to 3,000 subs by the end of June of 2024. I love YouTube. It's such a time capsule, y'all, because 20 years from now, there are guys right now that are in kindergarten that in 20 years will be coaching football. As we make this, as you watch and listen to this video, and as I'm doing this right now, there's a kid that's about to start kindergarten in August that's going to be a football coach one day. And he may be watching this video 20 years in the future. That is so cool. It's like a time capsule. By the way, if you are that kid, check on Coach Chip, because I'll be 82 years old, 83 years old when you start school. give me a holler. All right, till next time. Come on, y'all. Be elite.